Good afternoon. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this special edition of Grid Talk by MethodGrid. My name is Rachel, and I am the Strategic Account Manager here at MethodGrid. And today is a very casual, informal session to chat to you specifically about our new AI assistant feature. But also, if you have any questions about MethodGrid, the platform, or the services that we deliver, this is a great opportunity just to learn more, to chat to me, to ask me any questions that you might have. So to start with, we have just a little bit of housekeeping. So you'll see down in the bottom right of your screen, there is a chat that my moderator, Tom, has added a few links in for you. If you pop in any questions that you have for me, whether it's related to the AI assistant, as I mentioned, which is the main part of this session, or just generally about MethodGrid, if there's any questions that I can answer for you, please do pop them into those chat areas there. So I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview about MethodGrid for those of you that are new. Then we will jump into where we have got to with AI so far. I'll show you through the AI chat. And then I will talk to you a little bit about where we're going with AI in the future. So as I say, please do pop in your questions. I will drop back into the chat here and there and answer them as we go through. So what is MethodGrid to start with is basically we are a knowledge and project management platform. So we bring knowledge and project management together all in the one place. And essentially the problem that we're trying to solve is something that I'm sure you're all very familiar with, is that lots of processes are out on different platforms to where you're tracking your tasks. So you might be tracking your task in one software and then trying to find your templates or your best practice examples, that sort of thing, off on a document management system, all different disparate systems that make things difficult to use and of course just slow down productivity. So what we do is bring all of that together in the one place so that your community of users has everything they need to do the things that they're doing. And the way we do that is by building digital playbooks. So I'm going to drop into a playbook now and show you around a little bit. So the playbook that we're looking at here is based on the Praxis framework. So Praxis has just had a full release on MethodGrid, and we had a grid talk very recently. So if you pop onto our website, you can go and watch that on demand and tell you all about Praxis. But essentially, this is just one of the examples of how a playbook can be structured. So this is completely bespokeable, as it were. So playbooks are made up of stages across the top here, and then themes down the side. So depending on the framework that you're working with, this could be Praxis-based, as I say, or it could be Reba-based, Prince2, or it could be a completely unique framework to your organization. So if we pop into edit mode, you can see that all of these are completely configurable. You can pick them up, move them around. You can add in as many stages and themes as you need. So it can work exactly as you need for your particular type of delivery or service. So then these little tiles that we have here, we refer to them as elements, but essentially an element is any capture of knowledge. It's a work package, an activity, a deliverable, guidance, any of that sort of thing. So if we open up our element here, you'll see this is where all of the lovely information is. So again, can be completely bespoke and unique to you. This is, of course, all serving Praxis information, but we have, the description, hints and tips, resources that might be useful, references, and then, of course, all in the same place as the tasks that we are tracking to deliver the service. So you're not having to go off and find all your resources, your templates in different places. It's all built into the same place for you. Then, of course, we have all of the delivery tools built into the platform as well. So you have your progress, your status, your RAG. We have a full Gantt chart available as well. And then all of that pulls into our reporting suite where you can build custom reports and custom dashboards, all again specific to your needs. So hopefully that gives you a good overview of how you build out playbooks. When we use them in delivery, what we will do is have a few master grids built for your different service deliveries or project types, maybe based on complexity often, and then you will clone that master playbook to give your delivery team a brand new, fresh version that they can go in, assign all their users to the tasks and elements that they need to be doing, build out the schedule, and then you have that really high level overview of exactly what's going on. You can see the progress of each of your projects. You can build out portfolio views as well. And it means you have real oversight as to, where your projects and programs are, but also with the knowledge that, your teams have all of the information that they need to be delivering consistently across all of your services. So let me just pop back and see if we've got any questions prior to me jumping into AI. Great. So we have built in a few AI features as we've gone about enhancing the platform. One of the things that we found was that building out content like this, you can see this Praxis framework is 183 elements strong. So if I scroll down a little bit, you'll see there is an awful lot of content in here. So one of the first things we thought is actually having AI help us build out content is going to be one of the main things that we need to do. Just because, building out all of this content from scratch can take quite a while to do. So what we have done is built in what we call an AI builder. So if I wanted to come in here and build out a brand new work package, for example, we can add a new element here. And then what we can do is behind this little button, we have our AI assisted templates. So all I need to do in that case is just give my AI a prompt, essentially. So what is it that I'm looking to build? So for example, say I'm looking to build out a risk management plan element. Then I can just select my AI assisted template, and then it will start by building out a first draft for me, as it were. So you can see it's going ahead and building out information I might need in terms of building a risk management plan. So you can see it's built the purpose for me. It's built out some key activities. You can train it so that it can give you a script for building out a video, key objectives, all of those sorts of things. And then there's just a few little places for you to add in, your specific templates, best practice examples, that sort of thing. Again, this is all completely configurable to you. So these templates can be built in any structure that you like. And the more that you have in those templates to prompt the AI, the better those responses will become. And you'll see also that when I opened up our AI assisted templates, there were a whole host of options here. So the second part of our AI content builder was basically around source grounding. So it's all very well creating generic content around risk management, but maybe we want it to be specific to the project that we're on, specific to the framework that we're using. If we're using Praxis, we want it to know about that, and also perhaps specific to our business. So the way we can go about that is we can actually ground our playbook in a specific set of resources. So behind the little AI sparkle here, I have all of my libraries that I've set up prior that have any of the information behind them that I would like to ground my AI on. So you can see at the moment, this is grounded on Praxis framework, and that has all of the Praxis information sat behind it. So you can build out as many of these libraries as you'd like. So one could be based on your company. One could be all about Reba, for example. One could be specific to your client or project. And that way the AI, when you're building content, knows exactly what it's talking about. It has that grounding to understand that it's looking at those specific data sets. You can also add tone and language. So in here, I have a very simple prompt just to say, write in a professional style, use UK English. You can, of course, add in as much in here as you would like. You can also use different languages. So if you are a global business, for example, you could then have separate playbooks for your different geographical regions. So you could say, write this in Spanish and German, whatever it might be. And that way you can have specific playbooks for your different teams. You can also give it context about what it is that it's building. So, if this project was to build a bridge for rail, you can give it all of that context in here as well. You can also tell it what not to do. So if you want to ensure that it doesn't do certain things, it doesn't go off and look at certain places, you can also tell it not to do that as well. So that is all grounding all of the AI features as we move forward in this specific grid or playbook, to use those data sets so that it is making sure it's building really specific content. So you can see we've built out our risk management plan element. And then if I wanted to make some little tweaks to that, I also have a content editor built in. So each of the places that you see this little sparkle here is just a little editor. So it's like a mini version of the AI assistant, essentially. So I can then say, for example, change this into bullets, hit generate, and then it will just do a quick update for me. And you can see that it has changed all of that content into bullet points for me. And similarly, you could just do a quick, change this over to Spanish, add a few more tasks in that relate to XYZ. So you can do quick edits using the AI straight from the interface, which, as you can imagine, really helps expedite that build out. You can just pop in all of your documents that are relevant and then go ahead and build that whole playbook out using the AI, which is really very helpful. So maybe if we pop into one more example, so if we open up a new element and say, okay, this one is about building a project management plan, then we can open up our AI assisted templates. We can pick a different one. Maybe we can pick this one here. And then again, it will go off and start to build out exactly what I would need for, completing a project management plan. So again, we have those key activities, the objectives. This one has format and composition built in. So again, this can be structured as you need, all bespoke to your business. We've got quality responsibilities in this one, which is great. And then a few quality control tasks at the bottom there. So again, once we've done our building of those things, often things like that will be repeatable throughout the process. So we then have clones available within the grid as well, not just for the whole grid. So I could then clone that element, and you can see it's given me an exact copy. I can then pick that up and move it to the next stage where we're delivering, more than one of these for each stage. So I can then move them along, just looking for that shadow. And it means that I'm not having to consistently build things over and over and over. So let me just quickly pop back and see if we have any questions. Can the grids be set list view, or would it be easier to view a large amount? Okay, so yeah, there are a couple of ways to view the grids. So this one, I'm looking at an entire grid. So this is a whole project plan, for example. If I pop back out a level, so if I pull back to here, you can see we have all of our different folders. So MethodGrid is built in a folder structure, and each of these folders has the relevant grids within it. So there's two main ways that people set up MethodGrid, but there are no right or wrong. Generally speaking, it's locations. So you'd have a folder per location, or it will be clients. So you would have a folder per client. So if we pop into this portfolio folder here, you can see we've got a program folder below it. And then these are all the projects that make up that program. So not quite a list view, I appreciate, but we also do have a list view available as well. So if I pop into what we call our analytics suite, we then have these tabs across the top here. So you can drop into the grids tab. It will always revert to things that you own just for ease of use, but you can take that filter off, and then you can have a list view of, all of the projects that you have access to. And you can filter this down. This is all completely filterable and bookmarkable. So you can then pick up bookmarks from here. So you don't have to filter each and every time. And then, you have that list view. And these are all hyperlinks as well. So you can drop straight into those projects from here. So, yes, those different sorts of views are definitely available. And of course, all exportable as well. So you can export the grid view, you can export the list view, that is all available from within here. Do all users have to access this function as not everyone has permissions to edit? Great question, Carmen. Absolutely. We have access control built on all areas of the platform. So let me just pop back into the Praxis framework and I will show you what that looks like. So up in the top right here, we have this little padlock, which is our access controls. And you can basically determine who has what level of access. So our very top tier of access is called architects. You can see on this particular demonstration account, we have a lot of architects, but I would not recommend that. So generally architects, you'd have like 2 or 3 that do, account admin, adding and removing users, that sort of thing. Then you can add individual members as needed. So I can add Harry to this playbook. And at the moment, he only can view things. So what that means is he can read all the knowledge. He can tick off tasks that are assigned to him or that are unassigned, so free for anyone to tick off. But he can't make any changes. He can't delete anything. He can't add anything. None of those are possible. I can upgrade him then to edit. And then he does have that little edit pencil pop up, and then he can make changes. So if he was the project owner, for example, he might have edit rights to his own project. That way he can scope configure based on his client requirements. He can then start to assign people, make a schedule, that sort of thing. And then the next level up would be manage. And basically what that means is he has access to this panel as well. So he can add and remove, he can change people's level of access, that sort of thing. You'll see over here, we also have groups, and that is to make access control just even easier to manage. So you can set up bespoke groups depending on your teams, that sort of thing. So you can then just add a whole team in one go and say, okay, all of finance need to be able to edit this playbook. And there we go, rather than, having to add 20 different individuals and give them all edit rights. That would take a little while. So you can just do it in bulk. So that is available at playbook level all the way up through the folder structure. So essentially, if someone doesn't have access, view access, that item just won't appear for them. It will just be invisible. They won't even know it exists. And then you can give them view, upgrade to edit, upgrade to manage. So yeah, all completely configurable all the way throughout the platform. Really good question. How do you currently manage the RACI? So RACI is built in by the builder, essentially. We don't have a specific RACI tool built into the platform. It is on the long-term roadmap. We will hopefully get that built in soon. But at the moment, as it did similarly with this one, it would be built much like this in a template. So that is the way we go about it at the moment. You can also embed features in here though. So if you had that sort of information out in another platform, in a spreadsheet, whatever it might be, you can embed that in here. So it will just iframe straight within the platform and you can interact with it within there. So certainly something that has come up a few times and we definitely want to build that in. And it will probably look like when you would assign by role, and then you can basically add people to those roles and then they will auto assign. But at the moment, it is individual assignees. So if I pop into edit mode to assign someone to a task, it is just a named user at the moment. But yes, certainly something that we have the ambition to build in. Good question. So are you developing anything that can use AI to query the entire grid? So this is what we are getting into today. So that was a little bit of an overview as to where we have got to so far. So now the AI assistant that we are looking to chat about today is up in the top of the grid. So this has just been released to a small cohort for UAT at the moment, but this is exactly what the feature is doing. So this is my AI chat. We call it an AI assistant. And essentially I can come in here and start talking to the grid, as it were. So let me pick up a question that I have here. So for example, I can say, can you tell me how I should be capturing lessons learned? I can add that as a question here. AI will go off and have a look through the grid and see what information we have about capturing lessons learned. Depending on, how much data is in the grid will determine how long it takes to come back. But you can see it has given me a list of instructions as to how I should be doing lessons learned. I can also then say, can you direct me to the relevant, help if I can spell, relevant element. And then it should give me a link directly to that element, hopefully. Yep, so there we can see those hyperlinks there have taken me through to the lessons learned document. So really good for interrogating the grid as a whole. So you can use that for finding information, but you can also use that for things like, for example, so can you build me a table showing the RAG status of all elements? And then it will go off and start to do that for me. So here we are. Now we have, all of the elements and what their RAG status is. So we could do this just by count. See if I can confuse it. So essentially you can basically ask it any question. There we are. So it has now done a count of the RAGs of elements. And then I could say, can you convert this into a graph? See what it does with that. And there we are. So you can see it's given me my red, amber, green, and then I have a lot that aren't ragged, as you can see in here. And that has given me a really nice, correctly colored visual representation of those. Let me just pop back to you and see if any, no, still good. So then we can look at it from all sorts of data sets. So you could ask it, have things gone overdue? How are we looking in terms of the baseline? But you can also ask it in terms of how to actually use the platform. So I think I have one here. Let me have a look. Yeah, so let me just grab this one. So how do I set baselines in the grid Gantt chart? So it should pop off and grab some information relating to that. Let's see what it comes back with. Here we are. So, okay, haven't provided step by step. Let me try again. Occasionally it does have a little bit of a wobble. It's AI after all. It has linked me directly through to the help center where I'd find that, but you can see on the second go, it has, given me the exact steps to set up a baseline within the Gantt chart. It's also given me a little GIF of how to do that. And directed me directly through to our help desk to be able to see that in full view. So if any time you find that it has a little moment, sometimes it just needs a nudge. And that is why we are in UAT. And those of you, I know there are a few of you on the call that have access to this now, so please do feedback anything you have around, how it's doing, anything you'd like it to do better. We really appreciate any of that feedback. So let's have a look. Let me grab this one and I will show you one more little feature. So in a table, show me the number of tasks assigned to each member in this grid. I haven't assigned too many people in this, so it probably won't be too big. So 550 unassigned, 6 and 6 to each Harry and Rosie. But then what I can do is ask it to do this. Can you put this data into an Excel file for me to download? So then there we are. It has created me a file and I can click that and it will download it. obviously this set of information not that interesting, but when you're using it in anger, you could ask it for all sorts of things, rag status, assignee, due date, all of that sort of thing, and then just download that straight into a spreadsheet. Also for things that are assigned to you, can be really helpful. So at the moment, this is looking at playbooks specifically. So this is just looking at the information in this specific grid or project. Eventually, we will be looking to take it up to account level as well. So people with higher level access will be able to interrogate from, like a portfolio or program view as well, which will be really helpful. But at the moment, it is just sitting in each individual project for you to interrogate that information. And often clients will use comments as well for collaboration and adding notes to things. So you can actually pop into your elements, and against each task, you have a little comments feature. So that is all interrogatable as well by the AI. So you'll be able to ask it, can you show me any comments I haven't read yet, that sort of thing. And just based on the AI, we had a few questions from people that weren't able to join this call today around security. So just to note that we don't hold on to any of the data in terms of AI learning. So we're not sending it out to train large language models, anything like that. It is purely just used for your prompt, and then it disappears. Everything is ring fenced, so we're not sharing it with other clients either. It is all just for you and then deleted after it's used for the prompt. So there's nothing to worry about in terms of that. We're not sharing any of your lovely IP to train anyone's models. And of course, it can create all of that exportable content for you to then use if you wish later on. Let me just pop back and see, have we got any more questions? So did you have any more questions on the chat interface itself? Please do pop them into the chat box. Otherwise, I will just give you a little bit of an overview as to where we're going. So of course, the chatbot is not the end of our AI journey. We will be taking it up a level, but before we do that, we are building 2 brand new features as we speak. One is called AI document drafting. So what that looks like is we will help you build out AI'd templates, so your templates rather than ours. So these could be things like PMPs, risk management plans, business cases, whatever that might be that you have to basically populate in order to get through your gates, for example. So we would help you build those out with AI prompts in them. Then your end user community can upload that document into our AI and say, using the information that you have in this grid, in this project delivery, can you help me fill out this template, essentially? So what you'll find with some AI chats around, let's not name any names, is that you can ask it to fill out a document. It will just go off into the ether. It will fill it out and it will send it back. We're not going to do that, because each and every time that happens, you have to read over the whole doc. There's always something wrong. You can't trust AI 100%, as we all know. So the way we have designed this feature is that it will go through each section of your template with you. So it will say, okay, so for this template, we need to fill out this section. It'll ask you a couple of questions. It will then fill out that section and say, does that look right? Does it need any changes? And then you can say, yeah, you've done this or that. So can you tweak it? And then once you're happy with the section, you can say, yep, that's good to go. And then on we go to the next section. So it is still grounded in your grid. It is grounded on the libraries that you've asked it to be, and it is creating content from that, but it gives you the opportunity to have both AI and human intervention happening at the same time, so that we're not just, sending nonsense to people in compliance and they're going, what is this AI? We don't even know. So making sure, it's basically to make sure that you're hitting your gates and passing your gates first time, every time. That's really what we want to help with. And also, of course, just time. It makes people so much more efficient, rather than having to build from scratch each and every time, or perhaps even using an example from something they've used before and forgetting to update the client name, things as simple as that. So that will really help expedite and, meet compliance requirements, that sort of thing. The second part of that build is what we are calling AI QA, so quality assurance. So once the template is done, you can then upload it into the quality assurance checker, which is, of course, all built with your own requirements in what are we looking for in terms of compliance. And it will go through that document and check it, and then it will give you a score. So it will say, this scores highly, it's likely to pass, here are some recommendations. Or it will give you a, this is not going to pass, this is a very low score, here are recommendations, but also would recommend human intervention, that sort of thing. So it can really help ensure, once again, that you're meeting all of those compliance requirements, that you're not having to go through the whole process again because one of your documents has failed. Before you even submit it that there is a failure in terms of compliance within that document. So really helping expedite all of those processes. So those are going to be built into the MethodGrid platform. So those of you that are already with us will gain access to those for UAT once they are finished. But they are also going to be built in a way that is potentially agnostic to MethodGrid. So we will look to be able to plug them into different platforms so that you can use them where you're hosting your different documents, that sort of thing. Of course, you can host documents within MethodGrid, and we also have direct integrations with most of the main DMS. So I think a lot of the time people will just use it via our interface, but we wanted to make sure that it was fairly agnostic to that. So that is where we're going in the future of AI. Bill has a question. So do the AI confine to just project information in the grid, or is there a database that it can retrieve knowledge from? Does it have web search capability? How do you limit hallucinations? Really good questions. So the way that we give it other information essentially is with the libraries that you've selected. So these libraries here are how you give it more information. The way those are set up is behind the little light bulb button is where all your resources sit. So we can go into our AI sources, and this is where you build out your libraries. So basically, if I was to come in and build a new library for a client, for example, I will get presented with access control, of course, because we don't want everyone having access to everything. Once I've set up my access control, I'll give that a new name, say this is for new client. And then I can open that up and I can add sources into the library. So I can add web pages, I can add files in. So I could, add my client's homepage, I could add their templates, their best practice examples, that sort of thing. And then that makes a very bespoke library of knowledge for my AI to use, along with all of the knowledge that it has within the grid as well. And then when we're in the grid, you can use multiple sources. So if we pop back into our practice framework, we can say, when I'm using this grid, so anything that relates to AI in this grid, I want it to be focused on praxis, of course, because that is the one that we're using. But I also want it to be looking at my client information. So you can see I've ticked that one on now. So I want it to know it's looking at those websites, my client documents that I uploaded. And so now whenever I ask it a question, it will be grounded in those particular sources. So it will also be able to talk to those websites, build content from those websites, that sort of thing. There was more to it than just that, wasn't there? So that answered that. How do you limit hallucinations? I mean, it's a really great question. There's no way to completely eliminate hallucinations, unfortunately. What we are really lucky to have is our developer, our AI lead developer, is extraordinary. He is doing his master's in AI and machine learning. And we are just very, very lucky that we have someone that is building these tools that just knows exactly what he's doing, knows far more than I do about all of this sort of thing. So everything goes through really rigorous testing processes as well. So before the AI assistant was even released to the UAT, It has gone through a huge load of testing internally. We have test engineers that go through everything. So we do try and limit it as much as possible, but with the caveat there should always be some human intervention, that AI should not be trusted 100%, of course. So it would be great that there are standard folder as project knowledge so that the AI could use it to write technical report based on standard knowledge. So I guess that's where those libraries are leaning, essentially, is those libraries are folders of knowledge. So you could, for example, with Network Rail, they would have a library for standards based on engineering standards for PACE, that sort of thing. So you could have those all set up. You could then grant access using access control to everyone, if you wish, whoever you would like. If you want engineers to just have access to the engineering standards, for example. And that way, when you go about building your brand new grid, you can ground them in those. So you can achieve that based on, different knowledge libraries, definitely. And the templates, let me show you what they look like. So when we're using templates to build content, you can see I used the AEC deliverable template earlier in the demo. This is essentially what it looks like. So you're giving the AI prompts within your template so that it is producing essentially what you need. So these prompts can be whatever you like. This particular one is description and purpose of element name, hence that being the main topic prompt. No longer than 200 words, based on UK-based building services contractor, do not mention, So you can tell it exactly what you're looking for in terms of building out these templates. So with this combined with your source grounding library, you can get some really rich, detailed content that only therefore needs a bit of tweaking rather than going over it with an absolute fine-tooth comb or building from scratch for that matter. I can see Bill is typing. So these can, thank you. Thanks so much. These can be built at element level and of course at stage gate level as well. So we haven't really touched on the gates much, but let me take you into one so that you can see what that would look like within MethodGrid. So this is the PACE product index, which I very briefly mentioned. So PACE is essentially what Network Rail use for their project management framework. They host the PACE product index on MethodGrid. That is available for you to view in a read-only version if you would like to. It's available on our website, but I am sure my moderator, Tom, has probably put a link in the chat before I've even mentioned it. But yes, you can go ahead and have an explore of this. It is publicly available if you did want to just have a look at an example of a playbook that is fully built out. So if we scroll along a little bit, you'll see when we get to the end of phase one, we have a little diamond here. So this is basically a pending gate. And these are built out with the compliance checks for Network Rail to make sure that, they call them phase readiness reviews, to make sure that they are passing those gates. They have all of the information that is built in, all of the resources and governance is built in here, and then all of the tasks they need to go through to check those off. And so once we bring in those tools such as the document drafting and QA, this is where they will be built into prior to this gate coming in, so they can check that all of their documents are going to meet these compliance checks even before they submit them, so that they can ensure that they're passing their gates first time, every time, which will save a lot of time. And of course, time equals money for everybody. So that is the idea, is that we're going to save, hopefully, all of our clients a lot of time and money. So in here, when we're talking about building out gates, you can, let me pop into edit mode, you can assign an approver. That approver can then come in and select the date that the gate has been signed off. But equally, we also have the status of the gate, which is super helpful. So whether it's pending, on hold, conditional pass, pass, fail, and then that all becomes completely reportable as well, which is really helpful because of the nature of MethodGrid. You are, of course, cloning from your master. So you have the same, if not similar, processes for each of your project deliveries. And you can see, therefore, in real time, every single time phase one gate is failing on all of our projects. So what is it that we need to learn? Why is it always failing? Or why is it always late? You know, that sort of thing. You can actually interrogate this data to understand real-time learns. We all talk about lessons learned passionately, but in reality, you know, it goes on a spreadsheet, it goes back on a digital shelf, and nobody really does anything with it. Whereas when we are talking about something that is so organic as these playbooks, we can actually see that in real time. In the last 10 projects that use PACE, phase one gate is always failing. We need to put in, what is it? Is it extra checks? Do we need to improve the templates? Do we need to make changes to the process? That sort of thing. So not only, you know, is the AI going to help expedite things, but also just taking the tools that the platform gives you already and pushing real-time learns up into your master will make everyone's lives a lot easier as well. You can tell I'm getting passionate as I talk about those sorts of things. But yeah, essentially that's what we're looking at, helping with our clients to improve those sorts of processes. And this is just another really, really fantastic example of what can be achieved when you're using Method Grid. So if we open up one of these elements, you can see that Network Rail has put an amazing amount of work into building these out. So description, where it sits in the product lifecycle, key activities. They have video explainers on each of their products, all with sign language built in. Key objectives, link to the national template, link to the regional template if there is one available, applicability, you know, lessons learned, library, all of that is built in. So it's really, really comprehensive because we are looking at it from not only just Network Rail, but also the supply chain, you know, all of the information that the supply chain need to know that they are compliant to Network Rail standards as well. So you can see here we have a bit of a racy. And we can connect through, as I say, to all standard DMS. So if we were, let me just show you what that looks like. If we were to add files into here, we have a file picker directly from here. So you can upload from your machine if you did want to host with us, but also, you know, we connect to Google, to SharePoint, Dropbox, Box, and you can also use a link to a file or folder. So if you were using the likes of, for example, Bentley systems, you can link to that container because often it will be things like drawings, you know, so you don't want 20,000 links all in here. So you just link to that container of drawings and then it's available here as well. So yeah, lots of things to really help. Let me get rid of that. Build out and structure this in a way that really helps your community. And that's what we're all about. We're not wanting to build in checkboxes and make people's lives harder. You know, it's just another thing we have to do. It's really to take those pain points away. So you're not going off into millions of different systems. Everyone knows what they're doing. They know where the most recent templates are, and they can get on with things in the most efficient way possible. Let me see if we have any other questions on here. Okay, fantastic. Please do use this moment to add any questions in, whether it is AI related, Method Grid related, or just, you know, what we do as a business. Drop in any questions. I will hold on for a couple of seconds. While I let you do that, we do have another grid talk coming up at the end of the month. So that is looking at PACE 2 years on. So remarkably, it has been 2 years since we published the digital version of PACE for Network Rail, a piece of work that we are still just so immensely proud of. It has opened up PACE to the whole supply chain, as I say. It has made accessing all of that information so much easier. So I am chatting to Emma Smith, who is the author and owner of the PACE framework from Network Rail. We'll be chatting to her about, you know, the origin of PACE, how that all came about, but also, you know, what we did to create a brand new feature for them and how successful it has been over the past 2 years, how it's changed the way they and the supply chain work together, and also what the future of PACE is going to look like. So it's going to be a really, really interesting chat. Tom has popped the link in the chat box here, so please do register. If you can't make it on the day, don't worry, just register anyway, and we will just automatically send you a recording of the grid talk. So you don't need to attend on the day if you're already busy. we will automatically send that out to you. So please do register. It is going to be really interesting. It was great. Thank you so much, Bill. It was great having you all here. I'm so pleased that you all joined. If you have any questions or want to go into any further detail on the platform, please do get in contact with me. The easiest way to do that is using the help at address, so help@methodgrid.com, and then we can make sure that you're directed to the right people or person. We'd definitely love to speak to you if you have any other questions. Otherwise, thank you so much, and I am sure I will see you all soon.